just going into the last one for the listeners,
Sure.
advice. That's what everyone's trying to break in. What would you say to someone who's listening, trying to break in?
Do as many interviews as possible is really the biggest thing. And I'm more, I don't know, I'm more of a realist on stuff. Like, I hate the interviews where it's like, tell me about a time where you struggled. It's like, I remember for, owning a gym and even my previous job, I had to interview people, and it's like, I don't want a cookie cutter question with a cookie cutter answer, but that's what you have to do. And I hate that so much. Like, I just want to talk to you like a normal human being. Like, tell me about your life. Tell me some things that, that you like or enjoy. Tell me some things you don't like. Tell me, even like you played sports. Tell me about your experience. Things like that. I don't need to know, like, tell me about a difficult time when you were challenged and you were about to give up. Those questions I'm not a huge fan of. But you have to go through that. Like I said, I had 3 or 4 different companies that I went through, different interview processes. And I did a lot of research. You go on different forums too. If you dig into the internet, you can find some stuff that can give you insight on the company, that you're applying for. Let me think. I had another through another connection of my aunt, another friend of hers I was able to connect with, and he helped me a lot through some of the interview processes with one company. And that was just a random network of, hey, I know this person's working for that company. Let me reach out. So really it's all that kind of stuff. And then getting a feel for, he kind of informed me on kind of what the culture's like and how you're supposed to answer things and say things, and so that kind of helped going through that process. But you have to reach out to people. You have to be persistent. Jobs are coming up all the time. When I was on the site, I would be on, probably 4 or 5 different medical device company sites, and you'd see what would pop up. So just, for someone who's out there, there's always going to be entry-level jobs popping up. Obviously, if you have some sort of sales experience, that will go a little bit farther than not. But if you don't have it, don't be discouraged. I know people that have been teachers that have gone into medical device, and they're very good at it, because that's a huge part of it. I do know some people, and just take it for what it's worth, that have gone to medical device school and have good experiences from that. And people that I've gone through training with went to medical device. Some of them had gone through medical device school. That can give you a leg up 100%. The hard part about medical device school is you might learn a lot of different modalities, and then you get hired on as one. So it can kind of seem like you did all this stuff for just one thing. But I wish I had that background, to be honest with you. It would have been very beneficial if I had 6 months of medical device school to devote to all the different, avenues of medical device and the biologics and things of that sort.
And I think it just would, like you just a better understanding. We had the last guest we had, she graduated from it. So we picked her brain 100%. About it, but it was just having that understanding. My always thing was everyone told me I should go to that. And I was like, I'll just reach out to 3,000 people and have them tell me.
I never went to it. And I don't want to say glad I did. I broke in, but like, I mean, they have cadavers and stuff, and you're doing things like that would have been super valuable for me to see that kind of stuff and have a better understanding of it. So that's an option, a path if you want to go down that path. So there's just not a right or wrong way.
No, exactly.
But you have to reach out to people, whether that's through LinkedIn, whether that's through your network. It doesn't matter if the person's in extremity orthopedics. Talk to them about the business. It doesn't matter if someone's doing spine, talk to them about the business, or if someone's doing, I don't even know what other.
There's so many. Well, that's the thing.
There's so many different avenues. And you'll get a better understanding, of the companies that you're going to be interviewing with and things of that sort. So it's a process. It takes time, but there are plenty of jobs out there. I know, especially with the coronavirus and stuff. Some people probably have quit or been let go. Companies will reevaluate, and they're still going to need people to do work, so they'll be hiring.
No, I love that, and that's what we just talk about here too. Always reaching out, using your network, and this is just something that just hit me because I've had a couple people reach out. They're like, "Hey, I have an interview coming up with this company in this division. What should I do?" And my comment is always reach out to a person in that division, maybe in another part of the country.
So I did that.
And that's what I did all the time.
So a couple different times. So I don't know what each company has kind of their own. Some might be like an associate rep. Some might be
they all have different names. Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
100%.
But find out so let's just say it was XYZ company has an associate rep. Find out who is an associate rep. It might pop up on LinkedIn that they're in North Carolina.
Yep.
Reach out to that person and say, hey, I saw that you've been with XYZ company for 5 months.
Yep.
What was your experience going through the interview process, and do you like the job and things of that sort, because I have an interview coming up or whatever. They might respond, they might not.
Yep. That's why it's a numbers game.
Yeah, it might be short and sweet. It might be, hey, this is what you need to do. But some people have given good advice where they're just like, hey, this is what they're going to kind of ask you, certain things like this, and just make sure you're prepared for that. But really, a lot of the questions are all going to be the same.
Yep.
And a lot of it is going to be, for me, I always hated, I had to do one interview process where I had to do this whole, they made me do, is it the Wonderlic test?
What's that one?
That I think that's what the NFL guys have to take.
Oh, really?
So you get, I don't know, I can't remember if it was like 10 minutes, but you got to answer like 50 questions as quick as you can. But it kind of challenges you, like, do you try to just go quick and move through it to get as many questions as you can, or do you want to try to get them right?
Yeah.
So like I got to question 27 or something like that, and I'm like, that's pretty good. I never got it. They said they're moving on or something like that, and you're kind of like, really, come on, like, I thought I answered these questions good, but like, so some of those are going to give you personality tests, and that's a tough way of doing it too, because I'm more of a people person. I think
100%.
I've always have been, and from an educational standpoint, even when I was going through college, man, I was just trying to study the night before the test and trying to just get a B or C on the test. I really wasn't trying to get an A, but
C's get degrees, baby.
Right, but the job is so much of a personality test. Like you get down with a case and you got some downtime, and I'm in the cafeteria, and every Wednesday it's with the doctor. We're sitting down shooting the shit about stuff, and the doctor's got to like you is really what it comes down to. I just had a baby girl, and another doctor that I cover a lot of. He has 2 kids and a baby boy now that's a month older than my girl, so we always talk about kids. And it's like every time you ask, like, what's going on, and same thing. And he's also, I saw him at a driving range, and we start talking golf, and like we were going to try to go, golf a quick 9, because having a kid and trying to golf 18 holes is tough. But like you have a lot of time, and even in the OR, I mean, it depends. I've had good doctors and bad doctors where some are nice in the OR, some aren't. But 100%. It's chill. You got music playing, everyone's in a pretty good mood. There's certain times where you can talk a little bit more about, pop culture and stuff that's going on, and they want someone that's in the room that they want to be friends with.
Yeah,
and like. And I'll never forget this one doctor too that, I call on, and he just wants a buddy in the room.
Yep.
Where it's talking Lakers and talking sports and things of that sort. And that's what they're looking for. It's a relationship business, and that's, if you have, a 4.0 GPA and you have all these things, and same in the training world, like all this stuff about the body, but you can't communicate it.
Can't coach a person.
You can't coach a person, or you can't, talk to them like a normal human being. You're not a great trainer. Or so, and I've been in a room where a rep talks so much where you're just kind of like, man, this guy needs to shut up, and he's driving the doctor nuts. Like you can see it, So it really is a personality thing, and they're, some companies obviously have what they're looking for and everything, but I just think that if you can connect with, individuals and connect with the nursing staff, and you're polite and you do what you need to do, and you do a good job, like that will carry itself. And doctors recognize that, and things can change. We were talking about earlier on the drop of a hat, and you never know where you're going to be in 2, 3, 5 years from now. But it's so important to build the relationships, and that's what it is. And I even say, for me, interviewing with companies, I have some good relationships with. I see a guy I interviewed with almost every week that I didn't get a job with, that if anything ever happened, I bet you I could reconnect with him and see what's up. And now that I've got a year experience, and eventually, down the road 2, 3, 4, it allows you then to have, more opportunities in the field, whether it's in the same, avenue I'm at now, or if it's something different. But it's allowing you to network with different reps and different companies and different people, to where if you're nice and you're likable, you'll have opportunities, where if you're that person that people don't want to be around, and shit hits the fan, and now all of a sudden no one really wants to be around you, like you're kind of screwed. So that's kind of what I would say.
No, and that's a great point. And like we just talked about, that's just general life.
Right.
You want to be around
100%.
people you enjoy, and I tell that to people, like, there's a lot of miserable people out there, you know. So like, if you can be that light in the room, or just someone who even gives knowledge or what it is, you know, there's a place for you.
And probably the last thing I just want to touch on real quick. I don't know if you really went into kind of the day to day, what it's like. I'm sure you've had other guests on here that kind of talk more day to day. The one big concern that I had when I first got into medical, or at least when I was looking to get into medical devices, I didn't want to have a job where it was like a 9 to 5.
Yep.
I had a job right when I got out of college. I was working for Wells Fargo Financial, and it was a Monday through Friday, and it was from 9 to 6. And then Friday you got out like 5 or something like that. But you were in the office. You had to at noon you had a break for an hour, and then you had to clock back in. And it was one of those things where I did that for 6 months right out of college, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, it was miserable. Like, you lived for the weekends, and you dreaded on Sunday night what Monday was going to be. So then I ended up leaving that job, and I was a financial advisor, which the way my position was, it was far more flexible than that. It kind of taught me that autonomy of running your own business. Because really, as a financial advisor, it's the same concept, just a different modality. The more money you bring in, assets under management, the more money you're going to make and whatnot. So it's a big time sales position, but you're not necessarily always in an office. Like, you're having to network and do different things. Having a gym, same thing. You're out and about, you're meeting people, trying to bring new people in, you're in a gym, you're seeing people on a daily basis, very relationship business. So the nice thing about medical device is that you have the ability to kind of go different places. Like, you're going to different hospitals. So you're not confined to a desk. Now, for me, the way that my job is structured, usually we find out our cases are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the following week. So then I'm able to see on my calendar what everything looks like for the next week. So then that allows us to prepare of how we need to get everything. So like a logistics thing, how can we get everything to where it needs to be? So we'll have to communicate together as a team, like, hey, this guy's got 2 surgeries up here. We got to make sure that this stuff is there. Where are they right now? Let's grab them, move them, because you're moving what are called trays. And these trays have all your instruments that have to go through sterile processing. They got to get wrapped. They got to get used. Once they're done, they got to get cleaned and washed.
And if they're not in there, like if it wasn't in there and you go into the surgery, you can't just go grab one and do it.
Correct. So yes, that brings a point. Like, a lot of the stuff that when I check something in, I'm taking pictures of everything for my own. At 8 o'clock at night, want to make sure that, you know, the screwdriver's in there with the right screws. Got a picture. I feel comfortable. I can go to bed. Then you got to rely on the hospital, obviously, being able to not lose that or anything like that. But it gets sterilized, gets wrapped. You get to the hospital, open it all up, get everything on the mail stand. They use it. Then they got to obviously, you know, clean it, make sure that it's all no blood, no anything like that. They clean that. Then you got to go grab everything.
And make sure it's still in there.
It's all there, to make sure that they didn't put any of the, once again, the drivers or the screws somewhere else, or if the hospital took them.
Which does happen, just so you know.
Often. That's why you take pictures, because then you can say, this is everything that was checked in. I want to make sure that it's all looking the same when you bring it up. You take it, then he might be at one hospital for that day. Now we got to take it to another hospital because you have X amount of trays in your possession, and these hospitals don't hold your trays. The majority of them don't. Certain ones they're not going to. So you're constantly having to run trays. So a lot of the job is very logistical. You're moving around to different hospitals, checking different things in, using it for the cases, making sure that everything's back to where it is, and then taking it to the next place. So you're out and about, which to me is actually important. So some people that might not be that big of a deal, but you know, it is nice to where I can drive and I can grab lunch, or I can stop at home. You know, I can do different things. Like, there's, for the most part, there's not this super time crunch. Now, obviously, there might be if you got to turn something the next day, or if there's certain things, but there's a little bit of flexibility in that. And then we make sure everything pretty much for the next week is all set. Now, sometimes it can't be for the later part of the week, but for the most part, you can get Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday set the way that it needs to be. And then on Monday and Tuesday, you can kind of make sure you can finish off the week on whatever, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So part of the job is logistical. Then the other part is spending the time in the OR. With, you know, to be completely truthful, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. You know, you might have a case that's at 7 o'clock in the morning. You get to the hospital at 6:15, 6:30. You go in, you make sure that your stuff's all set up, but the patient might be delayed,
Yep.
or something might be going on where they, are late, or the surgeon comes a little bit late. So your case might not start till 8 o'clock. So you got there at 6:15, you did your part for 5 minutes, and now you're just sitting at the hospital.
Yep.
So then you do your case. It could go, let's just say it's supposed to be an hour. It could go an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes because something took longer.
Yep.
Or they're having issues in the surgery. Then they got to basically, as soon as they close up the wound and get done what they need to, they got to take the patient out, and they got to, disinfect the room, clean the room. And then you got to prep because you got the next case. So if you have the second case, you got to make sure your trays are there, make sure everything's set up, and then you have to wait again. So your days now, a surgery might be at 7 o'clock and it might be at 9:30, but now all of a sudden it's 11:15 and you haven't started your second case.
Mm-hmm.
So your days, you can see how they can start to get later and later. You might have a case that's at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I can already tell you if that's the case, you can probably plan on it being a little bit later because there's other doctors that are earlier that are now pushing that back. So you might have a case that doesn't get done till 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yep.
It just depends. So it's, a lot of it is an organizational thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about being competent and being, a quick learner, and I don't want to say like a yes man, but like being like, yep, we got to get this done. We got to like working as a team. Like you're going to have those interactions where it's like, oh shit, we don't have this tray. Dave, we need you to run this quick because that has to be there for his surgery.
Yep.
And then you go run that. And then there might be another time where I'm saying like, oh crap, man, we didn't have this. I need you to go grab this because I'm in cases all day.
Yep.
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So there has to be like this teamwork of, getting things done and working together.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we stress, being a part of a team and being a learner. So I do think sports can play a role because you've had to do teamwork
100%
to be successful. And being responsible then with all that, and then that shows, if all your stuff is there and everything's clean and you're there early and you're getting stuff done and the surgeries go well, the doctors will start to recognize that, and they'll feel comfortable with you're in the room, what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's really kind of the day-to-day aspect of it. A lot of it is running trays, making sure everything's legit and set up, and then a lot of it is the case coverage and being with the doctors and the nurses and stuff. So
I love that, man. That's so good. Yeah, and thanks for going into detail because we really haven't someone to go into that deep of detail of like you said.
With that said, that's my situation.
100%.
Someone else, that you might have ask them a question, it might be something completely different. Some people might not like having to drive around all the time and doing, dealing with hospitals. Hospitals aren't the easiest to work with, especially checking things in. There's always a process. Every hospital has different processes.
Yeah.
It can be one of those things where it's very just kind of monotonous and boring and all that. But trust me, I don't mind driving, listening to the Joe Rogan podcasts, calling my parents or whoever, getting in the hospital, making sure everything's good. And then going on and doing the next thing, because I have been in the 9 to 6 grind where you're sitting in an office and it's 1 o'clock and you look at the clock and you got another 5 hours and it goes slow. So that's just my experience from it. I think everyone's got different experiences and what their day to day is like. But for the most part, when you're breaking in, you're running a lot of trays, and that's what we mean by that is you're going from hospital to hospital, checking things in, making sure things are accurate so that when the case happens, everything's there. Is there. So,
man, that's awesome. Dave, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you. And if you guys haven't, if you're watching, please press that like and subscribe button. It helps us get out to more people just to help them. And if you're listening on the podcast, please rate us a 5-star and make a comment. Again, just trying to help as many people as we can. And then also, like I told you guys, have a big surprise coming. I've heard everybody they want help. I may put a product together. I'm just waiting for the final things and hopefully should have something out here for you guys that can help you guys break in. So thanks for everybody who's listening, and I hope you guys have a great week. Peace.
Have a good one.